Jen.
Morning, Yolande.
So I think this is a little bit different to what the normal newsletter would be. Warren and Theo are both at a conference, and Jen and I will give a little bit of a feedback on what we're seeing happening currently in the markets. But before we start, I just wanted to say that we are growing our Galileo family. Shirley has a baby daughter that's now almost 4 months old. Katlego May will have, his wife's pregnant with a little boy. And Jen, you will have a little girl.
Yeah. Thank you, Yolande.
And that's in November.
Busy times ahead.
Jen, we thought it's good to maybe just recap what's going on in the market. We're now halfway through the year. And perhaps you can just touch on the biggest themes over the last 6 months.
Thanks, Yolande. So it's been a very volatile couple of months starting into this year. The war with Russia and Ukraine has been ongoing. The Fed continued to raise interest rates because of high inflation numbers, and the rand hit highs of 19.90 to the dollar. Those are just some of the main big issues we've been seeing globally and locally. What do you think the next 6 months have in store for us?
Well, Jen, I think it will be more of the same. More the inflation story, and then what happens with interest rates. The Fed has recently said that the inflation is still quite high and rampant, and that although it seems to be stabilizing, they do expect another 2 interest rate hikes for this year. The market will follow suit, whichever way this goes, and we're perhaps in for more of this roller coaster ride that we've been seeing. But that's quite normal, and we're getting to more of a normal economic kind of cycle in overseas markets. The rates in the US should start stabilizing if there aren't any other big shocks. The UK is still quite rampant, and we're not as worried about the European region as the UK. The other thing that has quite a big impact is the rand, as you mentioned, that blew out quite a lot. And the rand is like a big pendulum. It always overshoots. Either it's too expensive or it goes to a cheap level, which we of course like. But I think from our point of view, the phase-in still work. So where clients have lump sums of money, they can phase in over a 3-month period.
Thank you, Yolande. And then if we're just looking in the local news lately, there's been a lot of noise between continuous load shedding, infrastructure failing us, and the list just goes on and on. Clients are feeling quite negative, and understandably so. Is there any good news out there, Yolande?
Yeah, I don't want to minimize the impact of any of the issues out there. They're big and they're real. But I do think that we as humans project what's happening now going forward forever. And that's simply not the case. One example would be looking at the ANC. Since 96 or 95, they've been in power, but since that time, with every election that there was, their electorate and the percentage that they got from their electorate actually reduced. So it's very likely that we get a coalition party or government going in 2024, and that would possibly be messy if we look at the current coalitions that's out there, but it would be different from what we've got now. The other thing is Eskom. Load shedding had a huge impact on the psychology of everybody around us. But we talked about grid collapse, we talked about stage 8, and currently we're sitting at stage 3. So the reasons that Eskom pose for that is that they say that colder weather helps the efficiency of their plants, that they're doing less maintenance during winter, and that there's less demand from the big industrial users of power. Some like the aluminium smelters, for example, that does their own maintenance in winter. So that all helps to reduce the pull on the grid, and helps us to get to lower stages. But apart from that, private capital is definitely starting to build more of these solar plants, and more power is coming on board that we don't hear about. So if we just look at the city of Cape Town, they have already put contracts in place with companies like Amazon and Redefine Properties, where these companies have built their own solar plants. They're producing too much power for their own use, and they can now sell it. They call it wheeling. They can sell it to other people that need power, and they can determine the prices between them. So that will also reduce the power pool from normal users, and just open it up, for us to use. So Cape Town specifically is aggressively moving away from Eskom. And so are a lot of other industries. So the more that comes into play, the better that becomes.
And then Yolande, do you just want to touch a little bit on also maybe the NHR and just business and how business is also dealing with government lately?
Jen, I think as far as the NHR is going, it's big in the news currently. But the legislation as it stands seems to be unworkable and not implementable, if you listen to most of the commentators out there. The funding, of course, is also a big issue. But like with everything, at the moment, it's sitting with provinces, and if they sign it in the form that it is currently, it will go to the president, he will sign it off, and then it should be implemented. But it looks like there will be a lot of court cases going forward with this. And what we've seen in the past is that changes things quite a bit, and what we see in the end looks quite different from what we've got currently. Then you talked about business, and there's quite positive news with business forming a compact with government. Now this was initiated by a few people like Adrian Gore from Discovery, Busisiwe Mavuza from Business Leadership South Africa, and Martin Kingston from Rothschild, and a few others. What they're trying to do is to implement government's policies. They say that the biggest criticism against government is that they don't implement what they say they're going to do. Because there are a few plans that are quite good, but we know it just hangs in the balance and nothing happens. So these guys have appointed a few CEOs to help them with this implementation, and these are CEOs like people from Exoro, Anglo American, and Toyota, for example. So this whole thing needs a bit of momentum to work, and what they say they're going to do is to meet every 14 days to make sure that what's on the table is going forward, and they will meet with the presidency every 6 weeks and give the public updates from time to time. So currently there are 3 things that they will address. One is they want to end load shedding by December 2024. They want to improve freight and logistics, and then also reduce violent crime. So these are quite big asks, but if this works, it will be hugely positive for South Africa and for our economy.
Thank you for the update, Yolande. And then please just remember to all our clients to stick to the strategy that you and your financial planner have agreed upon. Every plan should be built with the assumption for a bull and a bear market, and your strategy must include both of these during up and down periods of time, because this is inevitably going to happen. We are probably in for more of a volatile time lately, but if we look over long periods of time, the strategies are holding up. Thank you everyone, and we hope you have a very good month next month.